picking up good vibrations.
Hi everybody, Alex Employer from Expert Forex, and in this video I ask the question, will the Japanese yen be the strongest currency in 2023? And there's a reason why I ask this question. The yen has just jumped 500 pips in strength in this week, and that was a major move in the market, and we're going to have a look at how sustainable these major strengthening of currencies appear in the market. Now, earlier this week, I produced this video that promoted the spaghetti indicator. Now, the spaghetti indicator is an indicator that trades the strength and the weakness of currencies in the market and gives you fantastic opportunities to trade. And please go and watch this video. It is a free downloadable indicator. It has a built-in trading strategy that you can use, very easy, and you can make quite a bit of money just following those very simple signals. It's ideal for beginners because you don't even have to watch the charts. The indicator itself provides adequate signals. So let's have a look at what actually happens in the market most of the times and explains why so many traders are losers in the market. And that is because they are late at coming to the party. In other words, the currency might strengthen and strengthen and strengthen, and they notice the strength, and then they would buy at the top of the market. And then the currency would weaken for a little bit, and then they would sell out of fear that it would weaken even more. And that is where your stops get hit and that type of thing. And every time a stop gets hit, the situation becomes even worse. But then again, the currency might recover and become strong again, and the whole thing will repeat. And as the description says there, repeat until broke, because you are buying at the top of the market and selling at the bottom of the market. Such a fundamental problem. Now, this doesn't only happen in trading. It happens in, for instance, linked services, where one linked provider might provide the most fantastic results over a 3-week period. Everybody climbs in and invests in that link account, and then that next week is the week when the link service runs into a loss, and they all just cancel their linkage and move to a better one that's in this cycle, this growth cycle, that will encourage them to invest at the wrong time. So this is not only trading, it is just human nature that people follow good trends way too late. So what do the good traders do? And here's a very simple example of what the good traders do. What they do is they get in early. They buy early into a trend, and they into an uptrend, and then they sell very early into a downtrend. And then all they do is repeat and make a lot of money. Now, I'm going to show you a technique that will encourage you to do this. Very easy technique. But it will also answer the question, is the yen going to be the most? But it will answer the question, will the yen be the strongest currency in 2023? Now, to many of you, this will look like spaghetti, and that's why I have called this the spaghetti indicator. What it does, it measures the strength and weakness of currencies compared to all its trading partners. Like in this case, we are comparing 8 trading currencies. So we're comparing one currency compared to the other 7. Then we can compare another currency to compared to the other 7. And that is where those lines come from. So when a currency is strong, it is winning against the other 7 currencies. And when it is weak, it is losing against the other 7 currencies. So it's a fantastic indicator. Looks a bit complicated, but we're only looking at the peaks and the valleys, so that's where the real benefit comes. Now, to answer the question about will the yen be the strongest currency in 2023, we have to look at the history, and I'm only going back to the beginning of September. So it's September, October, November, and almost the end of December. So we're looking at a 4-month period, and we're saying, what has the yen done over the last 4 months? And on the indicator, you can actually see what it has done. And I've numbered what's happened. Early in September, it was the weakest currency in the world compared to the other major 8 currencies. It was the weakest. There it is, number 1. But then, soon afterwards, in the same month, it became the strongest currency. Then, a little bit later in October, it became the weakest currency. And then later in November, it became the strongest currency. And then early in December, it became the weakest currency. And now it is the strongest currency. Now, what can we learn from this? There are a number of things. Firstly, a currency can be weak or strong. It will not last forever. Sooner or later, there will be a self-correcting mechanism in the market, and the strongest currency will come back to normality, or the weakest currency will come back to normality. That middle line you see here, the 0 line, is normality. So you'll see most of the currencies stick around that line, and they just stick their noses out every now and then. Now that will give you an idea of the rhythm of the market and the rhythm of trading, because if you look at that simple example that we saw earlier, what most people will do is they say, oh look, the yen is weakening, I'm going to sell. And they'll get in too late. Oh, the yen is getting so strong, I'm going to buy it. And they do not realize that those are temporary situations. Now, I'm going to show you some trading techniques to take advantage of this spaghetti indicator. But here we have looked at the yen, and there is the current week. US yen has gained 500 pips, and here you can see, and also gained compared to all of its other trading partners. So here you can see how strong the yen has become this week. And my question was, is it going to stay up there for the next year? And you can clearly see the historical evidence. It does not stay there. So what has happened here? It has created a fantastic trading opportunities. And if you relate back to those smooth waves that I showed you earlier, that in fact is a sell opportunity, not a buy opportunity. All right, so that's the yen. So let's go and have a look at its trading partners and see if they have projected the same profile in the market. So the yen has been up and down 6 times. Okay, so now here's the US dollar. Again, very strong in September, and in fact it never went weak there. Very strong in September, strong in September. Then in October it was the weakest currency. So it went from the strongest currency to the weakest currency. And then in November, early November, it became the strongest currency again. Then later that in November it became the weakest currency. So again, we're getting the same profile, or the same message. Strong currencies and weak currencies do not keep their position for long. You need to trade them and take advantage of this. All right, let's have a look at another currency, the pound. Oh, the pound went a bit like the yen. Look at this, right down, became by far the weakest currency in the market in September. In early October, it turned around completely and became the strongest currency in the market. Now, isn't that just a trading nightmare? Because you are playing around with people's minds. But the calm, cool, collected trader will have taken advantage of both those situations, because it became weak, then it went the strongest currency, then it became the weakest currency in early November, and then it became the strongest currency in late November. Now, again, we're seeing the same pattern repeating over and over, and that is what Forex trading is all about. It is identifying patterns that repeat themselves over and over again, and you can take amazing advantage of this information, and I'm going to show you how. Then we look at the franc. Now, the franc is really not my favorite currency, but here we go. It was, in fact, the strongest currency in September. In early October, it became the weakest currency. How's that? Just almost the same month. Then in November, it became the strongest currency again. And it's gone into the middle from now on. But again, the point is, when you see a very strong currency, you know it's not going to stay there. If you see a weak currency, you know it's not going to stay there. Then we look at the euro. The euro hasn't been as dramatic as the others, but here we are. It was the strongest currency in September. It became the weakest currency in November, and then later in November, it became the strongest currency. So that is just amazing. The euro has gone from strong, weak, strong, and again, can you see the pattern repeating itself? All currencies do it, and I'm going to go through all of the 8, and you'll see that they all follow the same pattern. Here's the New Zealand. There is the it was the weakest currency in September. Then in late October, it became the strongest currency, and then in December, it became the weakest currency again. So you've got to watch out for these type of things, and I'll show you how to watch out. Okay, here we have the Oz, weakest currency in October, strongest currency in November, weakest currency later in November, strongest currency in December, weakest currency late in December. In fact, that's a fantastic buy signal right there. The Canadian. Okay, the Canadian hasn't been that dramatic. It was weak in September and never came out of the middle of the strength and weakness measurements. It stayed around about the 0. So the Canadian is one of those currencies that hasn't been in a position to influence the whole market. Okay, so what have we learned from looking at the strength and weakness measurement tool that is free, that you can download? Have a look at that video that I provided. Links to the download and other information will be in the description of the video as well as in the first comment of the video. But we have learned that the weakest currency doesn't hold its position for long. That's what we've learned. The strongest currency does not hold its position for long. We've also learned that currencies can go from being the strongest currency to the weakest currency many times. We've also learned that currency can go from the weakest currency to the strongest currency many times over a short period. We've only looked at a 4-month period. And this creates many trading opportunities. Firstly, you can trade the hooks of both the strongest and the weakest currency. And I'll show you an example of that. You can trade the 0 line crossover exit, so you can use the 0 line crossover as an exit, and you can trade the strongest and weakest currency cross. But I'm going to actually just show you the hooks example. Now, if you remember back to that simple example, you would see that you buy in an uptrend after the uptrend starts being confirmed, and then you'd sell into a downtrend after the downtrend is confirmed. Remember that particular example. Now, the same thing applies to using the strength and weakness measurement that I'm showing you on the chart. So let's take this example number 4. That is the yen up there. It's the strongest currency in the market, and as you can see, it's hooking back. Now that's what I call the hook. So the hook confirms that it is turning back. Now it doesn't make many hooks. You'll see most of these guys do very strong hooks. There's a strong hook. So it doesn't repaint or play around with you. It is a fantastic hook. So what do you do when you see a hook like that? You can't buy the yen. You can't trade the yen on its own. You have to trade it with a partner, a trading partner. So the first thing you say, oh, here's a trading opportunity. Who do I trade this with? Then you go right down and you say, oh, I traded with the weakest currency in the market right now. And that is, the red is the US dollar. So what you would do, you would sell the yen and you'd buy the dollar. So you would effectively buy the US yen cross. Now, what could happen right after you've done that? There are a number of things that can happen. Firstly, the yen could lose its strength. That's the one thing. Secondly, the dollar could strengthen. So that could happen independently. So the yen can lose its strength, the dollar can strengthen. But what is ideal, and that's where you catch the turbocharged trades in the market, is if they do it at the same time. The yen weakens and the dollar strengthens. So you in a turbocharged environment, you make super profits. And when do you get out of this super profit environment? You get out when those lines, the pink line and the red line, either cross, so you follow them down. I know it's a bit messy, and there they've crossed there on the zero line. So interesting enough, on the zero line, then you get out, or you actually use the zero line as your exit. So in other words, when either of them hit the zero line, you're out. You're out of the deal. So easy. It is the simplest trading strategy in the world, and it makes huge amounts of money because it defines the entry and it defines the exit perfectly. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been educational, and I hope I've given you some ideas to improve the probability of success in your Forex trading. It also answers this question, will the Japanese yen be the strongest currency in 2023? And we can with confidence say, yes, it might for some weeks or not, but it will never be for the whole year, because we know that currencies change positions as the strongest currency and the weakest currency on a continuous basis. Very rapidly. It happens all the time, and that creates fantastic trading opportunities if you are in the mode of selling high and buying low. If your mentality is, oh, I'm going to follow the trend, you will bear the consequences of your approach. So please go and download this indicator, play around with it. It is going to make you a lot of money if you use it as I've shown you in this video. Now, what I would suggest, that the biggest problem with traders is they do not have confidence to do these things. So what I would do, I would download this indicator. I would put it on 4 time frames, the hourly, the 4 hourly, daily, and maybe even the weekly. And I would trade those on a demo account for a month. And then see the results you get. And the results will blow you away. And then you're in a position to say, I have full confidence with this trading technique. It is my technique. I have mastered this technique. I am going to trade this on a live account and make a lot of money. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.